Hello again, comic book fans. Welcome to another video. We're going to be speaking about the Bronze Age of Action Comics. I know I haven't made a Superman comic cover video in quite some time, probably half a year. I've been a little bit busy with work and just, I don't know, I wasn't really feeling it. But now I'm on vacation. I'm going to be actually going away on vacation in a little bit. And while I have the time and I have the inclination, I thought I'd make another comic book review, just talking about some of the comics I own and my memories of them. Now, again, as many of them as I remember, I'll discuss briefly. Some of them I don't remember at all. I'm looking at the first issue here, I don't remember off the top of my head. But either way, we were up to issue number 464, which is around 1976, 1977. So we're coming up on the time when I was collecting the comics and I bought them new. These I bought as back issues, but we'll be coming up to that, I think, in this video with some of the issues I bought new. So here is Action Comic number 464. The villain is Pile Driver, and to be totally honest, I don't remember that villain at all, actually. I don't remember the story, but it looks interesting. That's 464. Now, back in the day, and I don't know what they do now, but there was always, well, a lot of times at least, there would be a backup story. So the feature story is with Pile Driver, the backup story is an action extra, See Metropolis of Clark Kent. So sometimes they would basically do these stories where Clark Kent is telling a story, basically just like he would in the news. And of course, back in the 70s when this came out, as opposed to working just at the Daily Planet for the newspaper, he was more hip, and he worked for the local television station along with Lana Lang. So here's Action number 465. I think I only have one copy of this. Now this one I do remember. Lex Luthor's plan was basically to have a bunch of the heroes become children. And the way he did that, spoilers alert, I'll just spoil it. I remember the way he did that was he made them think they were children, and somehow that made them more vulnerable. I don't remember exactly how that happened. But I know it was Superman, The Flash, and Batman. So I think this was a 2 or 3-parter, so that's 465. At least 2-parter, because here's 466. And I remember this comic actually had some flack because, you know, Lex Luthor is basically punching a child. It was kind of a little bit extreme. But anyhow, so you see he already defeated Flash and Batman as their kids, and now he's fighting Superman as a kid. And not even Superboy, but they're like basically like pre-adolescents. And, of course, Lex Luthor has a power suit, so at that point, he would be stronger than Superman would be as a kid because his power suit gives him powers. And this is Action number 467. I don't remember this one off the top of my head, actually. Okay. Next, we have 468. Terror Man. I liked him, but I think a lot of people saw him as a bit corny. He was basically a human that was taken from the Wild West, from that time period, by aliens. And they gave him tools that he could understand. So he had tools that were kind of like Wild West tools, but they were really super advanced. So he would have, let's say, a lasso, but it would be like super advanced. They could do super things, and a 6-gun could do super things and things of that nature. In fact, the lasso comes up in the next issue. This was I think a 3-parter, maybe a 4. So here, Terror Man and Superman are fighting. Oh, and I remember that he somehow, I forget, he blackmailed Superman into making a TV show, or something of that nature. I don't remember exactly how that worked, but that's 468. Here's 469. I know I have at least 2 copies of that. Yeah, I do. I have 2 copies of this comic. I remember this. I remember really liking this one. I liked the story and I liked the cover. I don't remember. I remember that Terror Man fighting Superman. I remember him more from a comic that was one of the anthology comics. I think the Superman Family. I remember that story really well, but I can't find the comic anymore. I must have it, or maybe I sold it to a friend or let someone borrow it and never gave it back. I'm not sure. Here is Action number 470. And No One Returns from the Dead. I wouldn't have a comic of that kind, but it's a pretty effective cover, though. And it was a 3-parter, because the next one doesn't deal with Terror Man. Here's 471, Dr. Light. I remember this guy. He fought Airwave a few times later on, when Airwave was a second feature in the comic. I remember this basically, yeah, there are 7 people that were, at one time or another, thought to be Superman, including Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen. And is that Perry White? Maybe Perry White was one of them as well. But anyway, Dr. White basically thought that if he could he could commit a crime where where those seven were on the stage, and basically the Johnny Carson show, they call it the Tonight Show, and I forget the host. Oh, that might be the host. It's not Perry White. That's the host of the Tonight Show. It's supposed to be Johnny Carson. But he's not Johnny Carson. They call him something else in these books, like Johnny Nevada, I think they called him. Anyway, Dr. White figured that at least one of those seven really are Superman, so he could commit a crime while they're busy on stage, if I remember that correctly. I don't remember this one really, but this is 475. Again, I don't remember what happens here, honestly. I hope I'm holding this in a way that you can see it. I wasn't looking at the screen. Now, 476, here's Vartox. He's basically, he's not a villain, but a lot of times whenever he's facing Superman, he gets confused in some way or another, and so he fights Superman until he gets his right mind back or his confusion's over. And then this one, if I remember, okay, so Vartox is actually a caricature of Sean Connery, who's a lot of people don't know who that is anymore, because my name is Sean, and I spell it the same way, and I would always tell people it's spelled like Sean Connery, and now people are asking me who's Sean Connery. He was the first actor to play James Bond, and he played in some movie where he was dressed kind of like that. But anyway, in this story, if I remember correctly, Vartox in the Superman comic, which I actually have. I didn't collect Superman comics a lot, but these two, this issue and the Superman issue kind of blended together in the same story. Vartox, in some way or other, I think his planet got destroyed, including his wife, and he felt so guilty that he thought for some reason that Superman was the one who destroyed the planet, or something of that nature. I don't remember. I remember they snapped him out of it by having Lois Lane dress up as his wife, and that kind of snaps him out of it. You would think that would make him even more crazy, but it actually snaps him out of it. That's how comics work. 477. And this, I didn't buy new, but I must have bought it when it was nearly new, because it sold for 50 cents, and the price is 35 cents. And, now a comic that's 45 years old or so, 40 years old, would sell for a lot more. Now, I remember this comic kind of, there were these moon people. I don't remember how they got to the moon, or if they were in hibernation, or they were always on the moon, or how that worked. But they were these moon people that Superman had to fight. And this comic, and the next one. So, again, this is 477. I remember them, I remember them specifically, not because of their costume, but because of these, dustbuster kind of guns, as it were. It's hard to explain. The ray guns kind of reminded me of, vacuum cleaners, or handheld vacuum cleaners, or whatever they reminded me of at the time. This might even have predated dustbusters. I don't remember what it reminded me of, but it really stuck in my mind. And as it looks like here, they're expanding Superman until he pops. That's what they're hoping, at least. And then the next comic, again, I knew they were moon people. Here, they're on the moon fighting. And this is 478. He's fighting those people. And again, I should mention, too, they have a queen, and the queen wants Superman to marry her. Really bizarre. This price of $4, that's not the price I bought it for. Because I had this for a long, long time. It probably was around 50 cents also. Sometimes I just grab plastics and boards and just put them in one of them. Oh, it's kind of cool. I'm looking here at the focus. I have face detection on my camera, and it's detecting the face of Superman, even though it's a drawing, which is kind of neat. But anyway, at 478. Okay, next is 479. I have no idea what's happening here. I honestly don't. So I'm not even going to pretend I do. Next is 480. I don't remember this one either. It's like a meteor is about to hit the Earth. It says if the man is the man who has often saved Metropolis about to destroy it. Again, I don't remember what happens here. I don't remember what caused this. The next one I do remember. These I bought fairly recently because I have the comics, but they were in really bad shape. So I know I bought another one of them, and I think I might have bought a second, not realizing. Okay, so this is the one I had ever since way back when. I guess I bought this in the early 80s, maybe the late 70s. This was a Whitman comic, and I remember this because it came with the Chip and Dale comics, which were not the Rescue Rangers, but it predated that. Though Whitman also made Chip and Dale, and rather than buying them in the comic book store, you can buy them on the I could buy them in the grocery store on a rack. There was a rack with like a three comic book in one little thing, and you could buy all three comics, and they were like maybe 75 cents or something for all three of them, and it was Chip and Dale, this, and something else. So even though it's DC, this has the Whitman logo. I remember that now because I got that, I think because I was good that day or something, and my mom bought it for me. So then I bought this more recently. This is a DC comic, but not because it's DC, just because if you look, you can even see kind of how this comic is kind of falling apart. It's really not in good shape. It's even worse shape than it looks. So I wanted to, have a better issue. And I think what I did was I saw this in the comic store and didn't realize I already replaced it, and so I bought a third one. But I forget the guy's name now. Amazo? He is like a robot. And Superman also, at this point, lost his powers, I think, so he's using the Supermobile. This was kind of like a thing they were thinking about selling a toy of the Supermobile, and so they put him in the comics. And it was kind of lame, honestly. I don't remember much about this particular story, but I know it was a little lame, and probably that's why Whitman was able to get the rights to sell it, because they didn't really do that much. Here's 482, so it was a two-parter with Amazo. And here is, this is a DC version, but this also must have been one of the ones I bought new or nearly new. And as you can see, when I was a little kid, I wasn't really good on my comics. I wore them out pretty well, so I replaced it with a better one. So that's 482 with Amazo. Okay, sorry, it must have been a three-parter. Here's 483. And this was one of the original ones as well, because again, I can look at the condition. I don't think I had a chance to replace, no, I didn't replace this, but I believe this was in slightly better condition. I could still read this comic. If I find it, I might replace it if I could find it pretty cheap. Going back this far, they get a little up there. I mean, like, again, ignore this price. I just used one of my plastics, but I don't know how much but this might be how much it would cost now. Maybe, I don't know how much it would cost now, but I'm not really in too much of a hurry to replace it, but anyway, this is the end of the Amazo trilogy then. I didn't remember it was a three-parter. It didn't really impress me very much, so I don't know. Now this is the 40th anniversary issue, issue 484. Now I know I replaced this as well. I had this, that would have been 1978, so I guess I didn't buy it brand new. Maybe I did? I might have actually. Because I was learning how to read already, but maybe I did. I don't remember. Maybe, but either way, it was in really bad condition. And with the 40th anniversary, it was it's hard to find at a reasonable price. It's really inflated. I don't know how much it's actually rated as far as price, but if you look in comic stores, it costs quite a bit. I happened to find it somewhere, so I bought a copy of it. And the one I had to throw away. Actually, it was in that bad a shape. It was just falling apart. I think I might have gotten wet at some point. So anyway, issue 484. I don't remember. I do remember this. Yes, I'm sorry. This is when Superman gets married, but it's actually the Superman from, how does that work? I forget what they call that. Like, from Earth 2. There's like a multiverse just like there is in Marvel. And Earth 2 basically is the Golden Age Superman. Because when the Silver Age came out, they did a soft reboot, and rather than just rebooting it and saying the Golden Age doesn't count the way they do now, they'll just reboot things. They actually just kept that as far as being in another dimension, basically. And this is in the end Earth 2. Superman did marry Lois Lane. It wasn't until much later that he married her in the regular comics. That would have been in the 90s after the complete reboot of the Crisis on Infinite Earth. So next we have Action number 485. Standard kind of comic showing Superman's strength from breaking chains. I don't remember what's going on here, to be honest. 485. The artwork is beginning to get, at least to me, it looks more modern. Now, granted, it probably isn't modern. It just looks more modern to me because I was buying these when they were nearly new. So the artwork is still kind of like, it's not retro the way the back issues were. Even though a lot of the artwork was still by Curt Swan, at least, or the cover might not be, but the artwork I know still is, and he was drawing in the 60s, even up to the 80s, but I guess he kind of improved, changed with the times, because this looks more modern to me. Action number 486, again, I don't remember this one at all, honestly, so I can't really say much about the story. Action number 487. And again, I don't remember much about this. Although I do know this. This is when they started. So the back issue. I mean, not the back issues. I'm sorry. The backstory, the secondary story. Before this, for a while in the '70s, in the mid '70s, they were using Atom along with Green Arrow. But in the late '70s, early '80s, it would be the Atom, Airwave, and Aquaman, but mostly the Atom and Airwave. They would even team up sometimes. Now, Airwave is a character that's really not very popular. He didn't ever have his own comic or anything, but I really loved him. He's, I think, Hal Jordan's cousin or nephew, and he can, with his suit. I think it's his suit that gives him his power. I don't think he could do it outside of the suit. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, he could basically travel the airwaves, so including the radio waves and things of that nature. So he could dial a phone number, which was pretty cool, and then he could ride the telephone lines to actually come out of the phone wherever he dialed, which was pretty neat. He had a few powers like that. And but the thing that really impressed me about him was that he was a teenager, and I mean, when I say a teenager, he was like 14, like a really young kid. Which he was still older than I was when I was reading the comics, but rather than him being, someone who I thought was a man or older, even some of the teens who would be 18, they would be really old to me when I was really young. So 14 was kind of like, okay, he's still older than me, but he's still kind of a kid. So I thought that was cool. And here is Airwave. I think this might be the first issue with Airwave. And this is issue 488. So, no, okay, this is the first issue with Airwave. The one I remember the most was the issue where Airwave had a new costume. This is his first appearance, I think, or maybe at least the first issue with him in action. But it's not when he got a new costume, I don't think, at least. Here's 488, and actually going back to the main story, I'm sorry, this is Airwave here. But going back to the main story, Microwave Man, I really remember nothing about this off the top of my head. One thing I do want to say, though, I don't talk about my equipment that much, but I don't know if you noticed, I got a new small handheld camera, which I'm videoing with. It can focus on small objects a lot easier. If you remember, I tried to focus on the Autobot symbol, or the Decepticon symbol, one of my yellow comic showcases, and I had such a hard time focusing. This one does a lot better. So this is 488. Okay, this video is getting a bit long, but I want to get to at least 500 before I stop it. Here we are at 489. I think and the Atom is actually featured as the secondary story. I think this is the one, and maybe the one next to it too, the one after it. But if I remember correctly, they established that basically Krypton was like 40 or 45 light years away from Earth. So the explosion of Krypton is finally catching up to Earth, and somehow or one of the villains, I don't remember who, it might be Lex Luthor, I don't remember who actually determined this, but they realized that if Superman saw the light from the explosion of Krypton exploding, he would go crazy. I don't know where. Again, this is comic book logic, so however sense that makes, but that's what they do. They kind of trick him into doing that, and he's out in space when that hits, and it does make him go crazy, if I remember correctly. That's why I think the next comic is part of that same story, issue 490. I think that's why his eyes are like that, and he can't turn off his heat vision. I think that was the cause of it. I'm pretty sure. Again, this is kind of, I haven't read these in a little while, so I could be wrong about this, but this sounds right. Okay, next is issue 491. Hawkman. I don't remember Hawkman. Oh, this might be part of the same thing, because it looks like Superman's eyes are still burning, so it might be part of a trilogy. Maybe it was Brainiac instead of Lex Luthor who actually made that determination and tricked Superman into going into space. That sounds more, I don't know. I really don't remember. So again, this is really, I could be completely wrong about this whole story. Although I do remember a comic about what I said before about the explosion of Krypton, the light finally catching up to Earth. I think this might be the story. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Next we have 492. I don't remember. I vaguely remember this, but I don't know why it happened or what happens here. But this also tells me, again, like I said, this is 1978 or 79 because, the second Superman movie. I'm sorry. This might be even up to 1980 then. Or is this, I don't know if it's the second Superman movie contest or the movie contest Superman 2. It looks like the second Superman movie contest, so I'd say 78. It's somewhere in the very late 70s, very early 80s. So you can see by the futuristic kind of design, and even though it's supposed to be futuristic, she's wearing basically 70s clothes. So I can tell it's, like I said, late 70s, early 80s. Here's issue 493. I remember this involves an alien, and the alien has this alien TV that would basically put Superman in the TV, kind of like the Phantom Zone. And Superman somehow tricks the alien into going instead, if I remember correctly. I don't remember it really well. And again, this comic is not in the best of shape. And I guess, again, if I remember and see one in better shape, I'd buy it. But I don't go to comic stores that often anymore. I really don't. So I don't know if that'll ever happen. It's in good enough shape that I can read the comic. But again, I don't remember much of it, so that doesn't tell you much. Here's another Whitman issue. This is issue 495, maybe? 490. No, it says 496. That's 496. I don't know. Issue 495? I can't. No, it doesn't. Oh, it wouldn't say because Whitman didn't actually have the numbers on it. I want to say this might be 495. I don't remember much about this. I remember there's this, like, Kryptonian, a warrior from ancient Krypton. I think he might be a robot or something. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, Krypton. From Krypton's past, storms a warrior mightier than Superman. Right, so it is a warrior from ancient Krypton. I think it might be a robot. I don't remember this really well. Okay, so we're at 496. Oh, I do remember this. What's that place called? There's a city that has, it's the only city to survive the explosion of Krypton, but it's shrunken by Brainiac, and I think it's called, oh, here we are, Shrunken City of Kandor, right. And there's this germ that's going to kill them all, but, now, that really doesn't happen. Superman did inadvertently give them the germ, but they're not mad at him the way they are in the cover here. They're actually looking for a cure, and they do find a cure. The cure is to make a Kryptonian, when a Kryptonian is under a lot of stress, he exudes a hormone, which actually would be the cure. A super Kryptonian, I mean. So they basically do that. They put him under stress by having what they think is an illusion of an alien attacking the Earth, but what actually happens is, oh, no. I'm wrong. That's not right. It's not a germ that's actually killing the Kandor. It's a germ that he brought back from Kandor that would kill all of the Earth. That's right. So they, like I said, they make this alien construct to, like, give him a lot of stress, but what actually happens is the alien construct wasn't even ready, and a real alien is going to invade the Earth. But that alien isn't, and that does cause stress, and so Superman's able to cure the Earth. But that alien isn't even a villain. The alien's basically like a salvage. He's in a salvage ship, and he found out that humanity will be dead within 24 hours of that disease. So he's there to basically colonize the Earth once humanity dies. So he's not a villain. He isn't trying to kill humans or anything like that. And once he realizes that humanity's saved, he actually leaves on his own accord. So it's not a villain. I do like that not every single alien or every single character that comes into Superman comics is a straight out, like, villain that's a mustache twirling villain. Some of them really are either misunderstood, they don't understand something, or there's a misunderstanding. So I like that. Okay, issue number 497 is next. I don't remember this one either. Honestly, I see Superman throwing a building at a meteor that's loaded with kryptonite, but I don't remember it at all, honestly. Issue number 498. If that's Clark Kent, how is Superman stopping this